Live from the Big Tomato. Welcome to Kings Pod 2020 with your hosts, Geoff and Toke. Before we get started, I just want to share something.
7th pick in the 2026 NBA Draft, the Sacramento Kings select Darius Acuff Jr. from the University of Arkansas.
Let's go. Let's go.
Geoff, what's going on, man? How are you feeling? The Kings got their guy.
I'm feeling good, Toke. I was actually laughing to myself the other day because I'm like, this is like the most exciting times for Kings fans. Like the offseason is the times where I'm like, I get like re-engaged in the team and I get excited about what's happening in the NBA as a whole, but also just as a team. Cause you know, this is where you're like, wow, we might've got something here. We might be cooking. We might be able to do something with this. Obviously time will tell, but I think, we got our guy. And I will say that does not usually happen. Usually we kind of get whoever falls to us. And this time, people are saying that Perry worked some magic somehow and he fell to us.
Yeah, I mean, some people are calling it the biggest Kings offseason in years. Obviously, we have a lot to get to with the show today. It's day 2 of free agency technically, but it feels like day 1 because things are actually starting to get moving.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, we brought in our resident talent scout last episode, and he wasn't particularly impressed with Darius Acuff. Obviously, I think we'll have him back on when the season starts after the first couple games. I think that might be a better avenue for us to ascertain whether or not he can play. But look, I think one thing I like about the pick is it was decisive, and you want the guys who are making the calls to be able to do what they're trying to do, because that's how you're going to judge them. If you're trying to do a bunch of things and you can't get anything done, it's really kind of hard to tell, do they have an eye for it or not? But I want to take a step back before we go any further with Darius Acuff, because there's something that's concerning to me about this, which is the Kings have already handed the franchise over to Darius Acuff. They've given him the keys.
Yeah, they talked about that in the introductory press conference. I was like, oh God.
I think this was part of the problem with Tyreke Evans and DeMarcus Cousins. This was largely a problem with De'Aaron Fox. They keep handing the keys to 19-year-olds who have not done anything yet in the NBA.
Right.
So it's like you're kind of placing all your hopes into this kid, and it's kind of this all or nothing swing, because what if Darius Acuff's just a really good player, but he's not a superstar?
Right.
Like, then where are you as a franchise?
It also does like a weird thing to the team dynamic, right? Because we have guys on our team that we gave big contracts to, not people that we brought in on trades, but like Sabonis, for example. Again, I know that we're not high on Sabonis. I know that Sabonis is probably going to get moved at some point, or at least that's the plan. But you're bringing in a 19-year-old rookie and being like, you're the guy now. You have the keys to the franchise, and Sabonis is sitting over there like, what? Like, I've been here for years. You guys gave me a massive extension. Like, I think team dynamics has to come into play with that as well. Not just the pressure on Acuff, which I think it puts a massive amount of pressure on him.
I mean, even someone like Fox, who made an all-star team, who, was a 25 plus per game scorer multiple years, who, had things gone differently, probably would have got his jersey retired in Sacramento. I felt like he hadn't earned the right to decide who the head coach is going to be. Like, oh, he didn't want Mike Brown to get fired. So, like, why did they go get? And it's like, well, who the hell's Fox? Like he's
I
made the
agree.
playoffs, right? And it's like, so if that's your attitude about a guy you've had for 7 years who's made an all-star team, or that's my attitude, I knew anyway. Like, what do you think I think about this 19-year-old coming in? And it's going to suck because now you're also putting a lot of pressure on him. They're not going to be good. They're going to be losing, and his face is on the billboards everywhere. And
Right.
functionally, what you're doing is you're tying his brand to losing if you're not at least middling out the gate. And
Right.
all counts, there's no indication that they will be middling at this time.
I mean, I think that I want to say that I do think the Acuff pick is the right pick. I like him in Sacramento, and I do think he's going to turn out to be a good player.
Yeah,
but it's classic Kings fans where, you know, you hear people saying like he could have been the number 2 or number 3 pick,
right,
or the number 4 pick, and it's like it's the classic like we're already overvaluing a guy who, frankly, most Kings fans have never watched this kid play. And they're just like, that's just such a classic Kings thing to do. So to your point, I think you got to let it play out a little bit. I do think he's going to be a good player. And I like the other players they brought in also. I saw an interesting graphic on Twitter that they talked about right after we got this pick, where they're like, he is the best prospect to ever come through Sacramento. I don't know if you saw that one where it went over, Fox, it went over Tyreek Evans, it went over all of our top picks that we've had come in. And from a stat standpoint, he's the best prospect we've ever had come through Sacramento. And I thought that was interesting, again, because he's the 7th pick in the draft, but also it's like, what does that mean? Right? Like, what does that mean in terms of what he's going to be here as a NBA player? So I don't know.
Well,
it's
how great
kind
of
an
a
interesting
prospect
dynamic.
How great of a prospect was Nikola Jokic? You know,
right.
like being a prospect is just kind of like another way of saying hype, right? Like,
for sure. Yeah.
And you know, I'm sounding like I'm down on the pick. I'm not. I think that, you know, the kid has a lot of real NBA skills, right? Like these are skills that, you know, should translate pretty seamlessly into the NBA. I think for me, though, it's more of the mentality that I'm always kind of focused on. That's kind of our niche, right? Is like anyone can jump on the radio and just kind of give you the Carmichael Dave take on, you know, Kings are dumb, you know, nothing good ever happens to us, whatever. And I'm here to tell you good things can happen to you if you change your mentality and you just make a few easy moves that are not like super complicated. I think picking someone like Darius Acuff is a step in the right direction. It was decisive. It does look like Scott Perry was able to maneuver him here because I got to be honest with you, I don't see why the Clippers and the Nets would draft who they drafted over Darius Acuff just based on college career and skill set. But, you know, time will tell who knows better, but let's hear what longtime national media Kings hater Bill Simmons has to say about the Kings pick.
Winner, Darius Acuff going to Sacramento. There's a chance Acuff is just absolutely awesome on the Kings, and everyone in Sacramento is going to be wearing Acuff jerseys. I'm all in. House and I have been all in really for the entire college basketball season.
Absolutely loved him.
He checks every box for me, including it's not perfect because he's not gigantic. He might get picked on defensively. He's going to a franchise that has had been living under a ladder and has black cats on the front door when you walk in, and every sort of bad luck, broken mirrors everywhere, and every sort of bad luck thing you can have. I just think the kid's got it. House, could he be as good as Kyrie, in your opinion?
I have a different comp for him that I felt this way for a long time. I really feel like he's the second coming of Dame. I feel like he's Dame 2.0. And
I love
that's what
great. I'm going to steal it.
44% from 3 as a freshman in fucking college, and they weren't easy threes.
Volume threes.
They weren't open
pressure
threes.
Yeah.
High leverage threes.
I like the Dame thing. To me, that's the motto of like, could he be at 25 points a game, like 25 and 7, has the ball a lot. Maybe you need some extra offense next to him, but that would be what I see.
Well, that's high praise from someone who doesn't usually hand it out, for us anyway. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
that seems to be the consensus across the league, or across the pundits, I should say. You know, you listen to Stephen A talk about him also. Stephen A was like dumbfounded but with the Nets picking up Michael Brown Jr. He's like, why on earth would you make that pick? Acuff, he was saying he's box office. He's box office. Like, give these fans something to cheer for. So I mean, it seems like across the spectrum, people are pretty high on Acuff, and frankly, I am as well. So I think we got our guy.
yeah, you know, it makes you wonder. It does kind of feel like the Damian Lillard draft to some extent. You know, we don't know how Darius's career is going to turn out, but it was like, oh, this Damian Lillard guy, like he was from a small school, so it's not exactly.
He was from Weber State,
but it was like, oh, like this guy, you know, he's going to be the steal of the draft. And then, you know, he went 5, and it's like, what were the other 4 teams? Well, I guess Anthony Davis was the number 1 pick, but
right.
What are the other 3 teams in the top 5 doing, including the Kings, who took Thomas Robinson?
Well, I think that they are.
Yeah.
There's like, when you got a kid coming out of Weber State for Dame Lillard, I think it's okay to question that a little bit more. Because again, like he was playing Sac State, like they're in the Big Sky. Who is this guy played against? So like questioning that a little bit is fine. But Acuff was like the SEC Player of the Year, man. Like that's a tough conference, and he was averaging 20 points a game or whatever it was. So that seems more obvious to me than a Dame Lillard. But again, if he can be even close to Kyrie or Dame Lillard, I mean, I've heard Allen Iverson mentioned around Acuff. If he can be even close to those guys, then we got a dude.
Yeah, I think, this is kind of what people do with the NBA drafts. You're always coming up with comparisons. And so the reason people are saying Dame is because he could shoot, right? Like that's kind of
right.
What I see. Probably not as good of an athlete as Dame if I'm just kind of going off the eyeball test. I don't know if that's the case, but that's just the way it appears to me based on how he moves. But he's a real point guard, and it does throw a lot of water on the John Morant stuff, which I went pretty hard in the paint on last episode. So
yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good that the Kings have committed to him. I'm not ready to crown him anything yet, but I'm excited to see how his first year turns up. I think kind of worst case scenario, you got because there were skeptics out there like Brendan Nunez who said, I don't know if the Kings should take him because what does the non-star version of Darius Acuff look like? To which I would say it's probably Malik Monk, right?
Right.
Which, yeah, not what you want with a number 7 pick, but that's okay. Like you can do
that's
something
better than a
with
lot
that.
of other number 7 picks. So
it's better than a lot of the Kings draft picks over the years.
There's a lot of number 7 picks that aren't in the league anymore. So if we could get a Malik Monk out of it, then all right.
It's better than the Devin Carter pick, I'll tell you that. And we'll get to Devin in a little bit. So you're our college basketball expert. I don't really care about college basketball or watch.
Yeah.
What do you think about what the Kings did with their other draft picks?
I think there was a theme with this whole draft for the Kings, which is basically they wanted to go get guys that played for excellent winning coaches. I think that was really important when you hear why am I forgetting our GM's name right now?
Scott Perry.
Scott Perry. When you hear Scott Perry talk about the coaches that they played for and the winning culture and those kind of things, I think it kind of I started thinking about you with the loser think mentality. Like he's trying to bring in winner think people. He's trying to bring in people who are used to winning. You look at Alex Karaban. He won 2 national championships. He's won at every level of his career. He's not used to coming into a place and, losing almost every game, losing 60, 70% of the games. He's trying to win games. And I think he does things that lend itself to that. I watched him play in the tournament a couple years a lot when UConn was doing it. And you can tell he impacts winning for sure. And then you got Kelvin Sampson, who coached Emanuel Sharp. Again, that dude's a winner. Like, Houston was not a basketball destination for a long time. And he got in there and he made it a basketball destination. And they're, even through this NIL stuff, which Houston does not have a bunch of NIL money, and Sampson's talked about that, he still managed to put together significant ball teams. So I like both those other picks. I like the theme of the draft. And frankly, I like, for Emanuel Sharp, I like that he's an older guy. I don't mind that he's not, 19 years old. I think he's 22. And he can come in with a little bit more basketball experience and a little bit more maturity and kind of, hopefully bring up the mentality of the team a little bit, as much as any second round pick can do.
What do you think about trading up for Alex Karaban?
Considering what we gave up, I don't mind it at all. I like it. Again, I've always been a Karaban fan. And just the fact that he's a winner and played for, one of the most winningest coaches in recent memory at UConn, I think it makes sense.
See, here's my concern. I want to be fair, and I roasted Monty and Wes for their mismanagement of second-round picks. And by all accounts, unless Scott Perry knows something, I think Alex Karaban probably would have been there at 34, where the Kings were originally scheduled to pick.
I'm assuming he knew something. That would be my guess.
You got to assume
Otherwise,
that, but
why do that, right?
Yeah, why do that, right? So you do that. You trade a second-round pick. You basically trade 2 second-round picks for this pick to take Alex Karaban. So It's like, all right, there's 2 second-round picks gone. You trade another second-round pick to move off Devin Carter. It's like, I know that second-round picks are more of like dart throws than anything, but you'd rather have a dart throw than not have one, I guess, is what I would say.
I mean, I don't disagree, but if you have a kid that you believe in, instead of having to do a dart throw and you're like, no, I believe in this guy, then I think it's worth using 2 second-round picks to go get a guy you believe in than to throw 2 darts, if that makes sense.
Is Alex Karaban Sasha Vezenkov?
It's not a terrible comparison, but I think that he's going to be better at being a glue guy and better at being a guy in the locker room as well, not just on the floor. And his 3-point shooting is big time.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that probably the Sasha Vezenkov experiment probably should have gone better than it did. Not saying that like the Kings needed to invest in him as like a starter or anything, but I don't think that they utilized him correctly in the one season that he was here anyways. So if he is a Sasha Vezenkov clone, just with a little bit a little younger, so maybe a little bit more time to adapt parts of his game, I think that could be a valuable guy for you off the bench. I don't know that I ever see him projecting out to be a starter, though.
No, I don't disagree. I don't think he's going to be a starter. He's going to be even the UConn coach, and again, I'm forgetting his name right now. I can't believe that, but he said he's like Dan Hurley. He's like, he can be an incredible role player. That's his ceiling according to Dan Hurley, and I agree with him. But I think again, it goes back to what Scott Perry's trying to do, which is build the culture that he's looking for. I think Scott Perry is anticipating, right? We're going to get rid of LaVine at worst at the end of this year. He wants to move off of Sabonis. So he's trying to bring the guys in with the mentality that he's looking for. And I think that's where Karaban would differ from Sasha.
Emanuel Sharp. What do we know?
The only thing I really know is that he's a great 3-point shooter. He's more of a 3-and-D guy. So again, I didn't watch.
He's a shooting guard, right?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
3&D.
I watched his highlights after we picked him up. I watched his highlights. I didn't really know him before that. And then when I was watching the highlights, I remembered some of the plays that he was making in the NCAA tournament, specifically when he was playing against Idaho. He went on a hot streak against Idaho. He hit like 4 threes in a row or something for the Cougars, and I was like, okay, so again, if you can get hot like that, and you're a little bit older, that could lend itself to some time in the NBA.
I have no idea what his NBA comps are, what his scouting report is. I famously at this point don't do any research, which is actually the smart thing to do, because what I have found in my last 20 years of the Kings being bad and like diving into all these things is everyone has an agenda with everything that they say. You have a lot of agents doing PR and stuff like that. I just go off your eye test and maybe some stats if that's what you want to do, but don't read what anyone else has to say, because who cares? Everyone else has an agenda, that they're trying to push, right?
I will say this at this point.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I don't see where Emanuel Sharp gets minutes. I will say that with the roster as currently constructed. So again, things change, injuries happen, blah blah blah. But as it stands right now, I'm not sure where he's getting a bunch of minutes.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. I mean, I think that there is a chance that Zach LaVine gets told not to even show up, basically. And then if that happens, and Malik Monk is hurt, or you move Malik Monk this summer, there might be some minutes there for him as a backup.
Right.
But DeRozan's pretty much gone at this point. We just don't have the official word on how exactly that's going to go down.
Yep.
Look, I don't know, man. My suggestion for him, based on the little that I know about him, is to watch video of Danny Green and like try to just be that guy, because that's something that he projects out to be. They say he's a good defender. They say he's a good 3-point shooter. Yeah. Danny Green made millions of dollars doing those two things. So that would be my
that's achievable.
2 cents on that. But anyway, moving on, we have to discuss free agency. Okay, so the Kings were rumored to be going after Jalen Duren. The Kings have no cap space, so I don't know how that would work.
I mean, there's only one way it works. And the Pistons have already said, yeah, we're not interested in that.
Then you find out that Jalen Duren's agent is the same agent as Domantas Sabonis, whose agency previously employed Kings assistant GM Armstrong. So you wonder, is this a play to try to get Sabonis out of Sacramento? Is this a play to get more money for Jalen Duren? Is it a play for both? Is it a play for the Kings to have their names attached with coveted free agents, which is something that, for whatever reason, I think Vivek likes? I don't. It just it looks,
muddies the water.
You look like you just keep losing out on things, and it just kind of reinforces the loser thing. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on Jalen Duren just generally?
I mean, he's an all-star center. Like, sure, I'll take him. That sounds great. But again, the only way that this happens is if the Pistons want Sabonis. I mean, that's literally just one way for it to happen. And they've basically said they don't.
What if you throw all the draft picks at him?
What are all the draft picks? Like, how many firsts would you give up?
Yeah, I think the deal that I had heard floated was Sabonis, and maybe 2 first-round picks unprotected, one of which would be Minnesota's.
I think the question is like, what are you going to have to pay him, right? So are we going to replace Sabonis's contract with a similar size contract for Jalen Duren? If that's the case, I'm not really interested in that.
You're looking at like a $40 million item, basically.
I don't think I'm really interested in that. That's a bit rich, especially for the 2 firsts. I think I'd rather, if it's between keeping Sabonis or picking up Jalen Duren, I think I'd rather just let Sabonis play out his deal, and then we can find something else to do with that money. Because I got to be honest with you, at no point until I heard this story reported either yesterday or the day before was I like, Jalen Duren's the guy that we should have on our team. That it never even crossed my mind. I don't know about you, but it never came up for me. So it's not like he's been a target for a while. It was one of those like opportunistic, like, okay, we'll take him if you guys want to get rid of him things. But if we got to give up firsts and we got to sign him to a $40 million a year deal, I think we can move on from that. Because everything that I've heard is that he fell on his face in the playoffs. Again, I was not watching the Pistons like that to see how their center was doing. But
well, he's 22 years old, man. Like that, like it's one thing if you're 20.
But he fell on his face so bad that like the Pistons fans are like, please get him out of here. Like, you can have him. Like, Pistons fans hate this guy right now. And if they pay him that kind of money, it's going to be, it reminds me of when we pay people that we're like, what are we doing here? Like, even that Sabonis deal, we're like, really? Is he the guy? That's what we're going to pay. So I don't know. I want a certified winner on the team. Yeah. Right. I want a certified winner in the playoffs. Regular season's great. We love to see the stats, but you got to be able to perform in the playoffs. And there are some guys who just aren't built for the playoffs.
Well, it's lunchtime on Wednesday, July 1st. So as far as I'm aware, there's no finality to it. It sounds like Detroit's willing to give him an offer that's lucrative, and they're going to match whatever because he's restricted. The Kings don't have, by the way, any cap room anyways. So
yeah, well, I think the statement from the Pistons is just pure gamesmanship, and I actually respect it. And I'm like, that's exactly how you handle your restricted free agents, by the way, because they said that they did not throw out a number out. They said that we offered Jalen Duren the most lucrative offer we could offer him, which means nothing, right? Because they could offer him whatever they want. And they said, you are welcome to go out and sign other offer sheets and we're going to match them. But they know that no one else has any room.
And to some extent, it's the Kuminga thing all over again.
Right.
You're just trying to see if you could take advantage of a situation, but
right. But no one else has any room. Like there was a while there where they were talking about the Lakers having some room and maybe the Lakers are going to make a run, but they just made a trade and brought in their new center. So now they don't have the cap space anymore either. So like there's no team that can make him a $45 million a year offer. So what I'm assuming is going to happen, unless there's a trade or something like that, he's going to end up signing for that like $35 million a year, and he's going to be pissed about it, which is hilarious.
It's insane.
He's going to be pissed. But like, what are they supposed to do? Like, help this guy go get a big contract from somewhere else and then take on a guy they don't want in Sabonis or whoever else it may be? Like, the Pistons have no obligation in this scenario.
Kings re-signed Precious Achiuwa. I believe it was a 2-year deal worth $11.5 million. Is that right?
Yep, 11.5.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. So you have Cardwell, you have Renault, you have Sabonis, and now you have Precious. So that's your 4. If you were to kind of do your depth chart, how are you kind of penciling that out? I would imagine Precious is your starter to start the season. With
Over
Sabonis and
Sabonis.
Murray. Well,
with
actually, okay, is Hunter? So we know Sabonis and we know Murray are going to start.
Yeah.
Is Hunter starting or is Achiuwa starting?
Probably Hunter, I would guess.
Okay, so who's the odd man out then out of the bigs? Probably Cardwell, I would guess.
Yeah, I think Cardwell is definitely, for sure, because he can't score. I mean, I think that's the limiting factor at the end of the day is his scoring ability is just not there. But I also think it matters. Like, we'll see how Reyno develops as a defender as well. So I think this offseason is going to be huge for him to kind of see what that looks like.
Yeah, I agree. Well, look, I think that Precious was a very nice pickup off waivers.
Yeah.
I mean, he was actually a playable forward, which they lacked up until that point in the season. They might have got an extra win or two in the first 10 had they had him on the roster, but they were running Russell Westbrook out as their starting power forward, if you remember that. Which it's not going to work.
That's just not going to work.
Not 37-year-old Russ, anyway.
One thing I will say, this is just a little bit of an aside that bothers me, is they were talking about Precious Achiuwa. Again, this is what we do in Sacramento. Like, he's a baller, and like he's somebody we have to have back. And in my opinion, Precious Achiuwa is a totally replaceable piece. Like, when they were talking about their off-season targets and like things they had to get done this offseason, re-signing Achiuwa was like number one on their list. Well, and I'm like, guys, come on. Like, this is like, again, this is another guy that we're going to overvalue. And it's like, he's a good player. Like, I like Precious Achiuwa, especially considering he was on the couch a year and a half ago.
I'm going to push back slightly here, Geoff. I think that, they're over. Kings fans are overvaluing him, sure. But I think that one thing that from year to year, the Kings have always had a problem with is this concept of continuity, where they're always trying to shake things up just to shake things up. And sometimes when you find something that's good, just let it sit and marinate for a while. Like, he averaged 11 points and 7 rebounds, shooting 52% from the field. Like, that's a solid NBA player right there. And he has a good, culture fit. He has a good attitude. He's kind of bringing positive vibes to the locker room. Yeah, that is a guy that you want to make a priority in keeping. Now, would it have been the end of the world if they lost him? No. But like, I think that when you're trying to turn a culture around, hanging on to guys like that, because like the very Vivek thing to do in this situation is, oh, forget him. Let's go get someone else because whatever we did last year doesn't work, because he's got this disruptor churn and burn mentality of like, if something doesn't work, you just like move, you try to move on from it quick. But it's like sometimes things take time, and he doesn't need to be a star. He doesn't need to be a star. He needs to play his role, and he did a good job playing his role. And to be honest, 11.5 million 2 years. Let's just guess the made it's like 5.5 and 6 million a year. Like, strangely enough, that is nothing in the NBA anymore.
That's not much money.
That used to be great money in the NBA. That's nothing now. So with that being said, speaking of $5.1 million not being a lot of money, the Kings moved off Devin Carter.
They sure did.
I'm gonna hate.
Well, they moved off Devin Carter, and to your point, they moved off another second-round pick. I am not mad about seeing Devin Carter go. I think that he got a bad draw from jump, or I guess maybe even the Kings got a bad draw from jump. Again, when you have a lottery pick that comes in and can't play for the first half of their first season because they have a shoulder injury that you may or may not have known about when you drafted him, that's a tough entry point. I think that there's something to be said for getting into the league and riding that wave of excitement and he never had the opportunity to ride any wave of excitement, right? And so I'm not trying to defend Devin Carter because I think that he was not the right fit.
He's indefensible.
Both from a culture standpoint and from a playing standpoint, he wasn't the right fit here in Sacramento. And frankly, I'm not convinced he's going to be the right fit in the NBA. But I think that he had a rough start, and not being able to ride that wave of excitement where you get excitement minutes, you get a shot to prove yourself, all that stuff, that's going to hurt anybody.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, like, you know, the thing, of course, like, this shouldn't need to be said, but I'm going to say it just for, you know, posterity. Devin Carter is amongst the top 1/1,000,000th of 1% of basketball players in the world. Devin Carter, if you put him on your high school's basketball team right now, would take your high school basketball team to a state championship.
Of course.
So now that I've said that, I'm legitimately questioning whether or not he's an NBA player. And I understand that he's someone who came off the Kings bench last year and single-handedly won them a game that they probably shouldn't have won against the Indiana Pacers by scoring like 20 points in the fourth quarter or whatever he did.
Right.
Like, there is some talent. Like, he is a freak athlete. I think some of his measurements at the NBA Combine with like the shuttle drill and the you know, some of these agility tests was like NBA Draft Combine records. He's got a wingspan. But I mean, like, you just, you know, the Nick test, you just watch him, and does he look like someone who's ever going to be like a great NBA player?
Stud.
Like, just look at his jump shot, you know?
Right.
And I know that Tyrese Halliburton doesn't have a pretty jump shot either, but like, Tyrese Halliburton's not 6 foot, you know?
Right.
So like, it's one of these things that, you know, I saw someone on Twitter make the comment that Monty McNair made like so many brilliant moves when he first became the Kings GM, and then he won the Kings, or not the Kings, he won the NBA Executive of the Year award.
Mm-hmm.
And literally since that second, he didn't make a single right move until he got fired. And the Devin Carter pick, from what I understand, has been reported, the Kings were not expecting to keep that pick, so they didn't do a ton of research. I'm sure they knew that he was hurt.
I heard the same thing.
They were expecting to trade the pick for Cam Johnson, and then at the last second, the Nets got cold feet. And so all of a sudden, the Kings got 5 minutes to figure out who they're drafting, and the Nets back out of the deal, and they take this guy. And, you know, I guess it was Monty McNair's MO to draft mature college players, which, you know, I don't understand, but okay.
But he also never really fit in terms of like, what position does he play? Like, is he a point guard? Not really. Is he a shooting guard? He's pretty small to be a shooting guard. Like, what position does this guy play? It makes me think it's a Vivek pick, which, like, I will always use him as the fall guy. But it's this positionless basketball thing. It's like, dude, like, you have to have guys that fit positions.
Yeah, I mean, you know, speaking of Vivek, this isn't in the agenda, but what do you think about Coach Cal saying that Vivek wanted Darius Acuff? Just got to put that out there.
Well, dude, that reminded me of the positionless basketball thing, because Cal said in that same interview, he's like, you know, I've talked to Vivek like a bunch of times. I'm good friends with Vivek. We talk a lot about positionless basketball. And I'm like, mark my words, John Calipari is going to be the next Kings coach. If these guys have a great relationship, we're going to back up the Brinks truck and pay John Calipari, which I do not think would be a good idea.
Okay, well, who would you rather have coaching the Sacramento Kings, him or Doug Christie?
John Calipari.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, anyway, yeah, I mean, I think that it was one of those, LeBron is coming out in the NBA draft. Who are you drafting? Or Wemby's coming out in the NBA draft. Who are you drafting? Well, you're drafting Wemby, right? Like, okay, Darius Acuff is there at 7. Vivek might say you take him, but Vivek would probably also tell you to draft Wemby if, it's that draft, right? Like, even Vivek could be right. I think that Scott Perry knew what he was doing.
I would say I texted you on the side about this one. I'm like, it worries me that Acuff is Vivek's guy. Like, that concerns me.
Yeah.
Because, like, he could have, like, thank God he happened to land on this guy, but, like, he could have picked any number of other random guys, and we're like, oh, great, here we are.
Yeah. I mean, the Kings general manager position at this point is literally just managing Vivek's eccentric, whatever, dumb ideas.
Right.
So, going back to the NBA offseason, it looks like with Giannis Antetokounmpo going to the Miami Heat, the Boston Celtics lost out on that. They were very publicly making Jalen Brown available. Jalen Brown is probably not going back to the Celtics from what it looks like. And when you strike out on someone like Giannis and you end up with a 50-something million player who's 29 years old, who wants out, there's not a lot of trades out there that make sense, because to get a $55 million player on your team, you have to send out like 3 or 4 players. And it's just very messy. It's a lot easier to do during the offseason. So there is a lot of belief around the NBA that the Boston Celtics have made Jalen Brown, or they're listening to offers for Jalen Brown. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on whether or not the Kings should be exploring this at all.
I think it's always worth exploring, but I do not think it's worth leveraging our entire future for. Again, I think that moving to get Jalen Brown would probably require 3 or 4 first-round picks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a move you make when you're ready to be a contender and you're ready, like, you're a Jalen Brown away from a championship.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think that we're there yet at all. So to me, I don't think that it makes any sense for us to pick him up right now. I think you got to build whatever you're going to build here, and then you can make a big swing like that when you're ready. But we're not ready for a swing like that. And so I don't need Jalen Brown to come here and be unhappy because he plays for a losing team. And we got rid of all of our future.
The Kings would not be a losing team. The Kings would not be a losing team if they had Jalen Brown.
You don't think so?
No.
See, I disagree.
I think Jalen Brown is the type of player that when you have that type of player on your team, the floor for you is like a playoff team. Like, you might get bounced in the first round.
Give me your starting lineup with Jalen Brown on the Kings.
Okay, so what
assuming
I would
trades
do,
and all this stuff.
So here's what I would do. Here's the trade that I would explore if I was the Kings. And there's no indication that the Celtics would be interested in this. The common thought is like you're going to send out Sabonis and a bunch of draft picks for him. I would actually go a different route. The move that I would make for Jalen Brown, or what I would kind of be, what would be my starting point, would be something like Keegan Murray as like the centerpiece of that trade. And maybe you attach to Keegan Murray DeMar DeRozan's contract or Malik Monk's contract to get within striking distance of Jalen Brown's number. I think DeRozan, because that gives instant cap relief because they could waive DeRozan for $10 million.
Right.
That would give instant cap relief to the Celtics. And then at that point, I'm probably doing a lot of trade swaps instead of draft picks. That's kind of the way I would sell it, because the problem right now with draft picks is you don't know what they're worth. You could have the worst record in the NBA and have the 14th pick. Like, this is, kind of a Wild West. And so I think that a lot of Kings fans, a lot of NBA fans in general, they attach so much value to these draft picks. But the reality is the odds that any of these draft picks that the Kings have ever being as good as Jalen Brown is today is less than 10% on each one of these picks. Number one. Number two, Jalen Brown's 29 years old. You're seeing now Steph Curry still playing at 30. He's going to be 38 this year. LeBron's playing at 40. Russ is even still going. Like you know, Kevin Durant's 38. He's still commanding a lot. You're seeing a lot of these players, because of modern technology and recovery techniques and training techniques, actually prolong their careers. And so if you can get, you know, Jalen Brown might have another 5 or 6 years on like being a star player in this league, and he would be extension eligible right away. So I think it would be a good way to smooth the ascent of Darius Acuff, if that's a possibility, to where, you know, by the time Jalen Brown starts declining, Darius Acuff is ascending, and you really have a program there in Sacramento that's like a winning franchise.
But I think you're like, all that's great, but you're going to have no choice but to do picks. Like the pick swaps are not going to be valuable to them, or not as valuable as getting more picks.
I know. No,
and
I agree. I agree. But what I'm trying to say is maybe instead of Sabonis and 4 picks, it's like Murray and 3 picks. But then instead of Murray and 3 picks, how about Murray 2 picks and 2 swaps, or Murray and.
But do you think Murray's valued like that? You think Murray's valued like that around the league anymore? I don't think he is.
Sabonis is?
No. But you'd have to, again, I think the picks are the value here. I think you have to give up so much in picks. Whether you send either one of them, you're going to have to give up so much in picks. Like I look at the Walker Kessler trade that they just did, the Jazz and the Lakers. Like they had to give up 2 first-round picks plus 2 first-round pick swaps over the next 4 years.
Yeah, but
and Jalen Brown is a whole different level of player.
The Lakers picks and the Kings picks are not the same, though.
You're saying Kings picks or pick swaps are more valuable because we're more likely to be.
Yes.
But doesn't that go against your argument of you're not going to be a losing team with Jalen Brown on there?
Yeah, but they're not going to think that. Like the Kings always, like the reputation for the Kings around the league is they always mess it up. Even when they have a good thing going, they find a way to mess it up because Vivek's an idiot. And that's all true, right?
Yeah.
But like
I can't spot the lie.
but if you're the Kings, you can't operate as if that's true. You have to operate as if like that's not going to be the future.
Yeah, I think whether they're taking Sabonis or Murray, they're demanding 4 first-round picks minimum. That's what I would guess.
Good luck getting that, because I don't think the market's there for that.
I don't
mean,
disagree.
like some of the trades that we've seen out there, like for Jalen Brown, the Kings can beat. I got to be honest with you, the Kings could beat a lot of those trades. Like
what did Miami give up for Giannis?
Well, Miami gave up a lot of. They gave up a lot of. I think they gave up 3 firsts, but they gave up a lot of good players. Like
they gave up 4 firsts. They gave up 4 firsts and Tyler Hero, Hawkes. Yeah, a bunch of dudes plus a pick swap and a 2nd-round pick. Now, again, I'm not putting Giannis in the same category as Brown, but like I think the Celtics probably would in terms of value. I think they would try to make that argument. So yeah. I don't know that we have a package that can compete for Jalen Brown. And if we did, I don't know that we'd be a playoff team.
I mean, at some point you gotta try to actually be good, right? And I'm not saying that I would do whatever it took to bring Jalen Brown here. I'm just saying, like, if the price to me was 2 and 2, like 2 picks, 2 swaps, and Keegan.
If it's that,
I'll throw Max. I'll even throw Max in because that kind of counts as a 1st-round pick. Like,
yeah. If it's that deal, if it's 2 firsts and Keegan, I would take that deal. The swaps, I don't really care about.
Well, you should care. I mean, like, we couldn't get our trade swap back from the Spurs, but does mean something.
Yep.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't look. Kings are probably not going to get him, so it's just kind of a moot point. But
I did see a report that they're in talks with 8 to 10 teams about Jalen Brown. Like, they want to move off of him bad. Do you think, in general, do you think that's him wanting to leave, or do you think that's them wanting to move off of him, or mutual?
So my understanding is that basically, it's the second time now. The first time they were in talks to get KD, and now they were in talks to get Giannis. So it's like the second time. He's already the number 2 on that team. It's always going to be Jason Tatum's team. I think he was like an MVP candidate this year. Like I think he finished like 4th or 5th. But
right.
I think that like the writing was kind of on the wall already, and I think this just kind of pushed it over the line where he's like, "Yeah, I'm ready to."
I mean, it
have
makes
my
sense.
own team.
Yep.
But someone the Kings might go after now is unrestricted free agent Jonathan Kuminga. I'm not really sure that there's much to say here. We've talked this to death.
I don't think we even have the cap space to go after him anyways, unless something big happens in terms of trades or whatever.
Yeah, they could do a signing trade. I mean, like that's kind of not a big deal anymore. I mean, Atlanta's probably going to lose him anyway. So,
well, he's unrestricted. So he's just a straight up free agent.
You have DeAndre. Well, yeah, he is, but I mean, like he could still do a sign and trade.
Sure.
To like that way, the team acquiring him gets his bird rights and all that stuff. But look, we've talked this to death. The Kings have Keegan Murray. They have DeAndre Hunter. I don't really know at this point why adding Jonathan Kuminga would add value unless you're really just convinced that he's going to be a star, and it just hasn't happened yet at 23 or 24 years old. But it is what it is. Do you have anything else to say on Mr. Kuminga before we move on?
Only that he seems to have Vivek's eye, and which is why I don't want to make a move on this guy. This is another one of those guys. I feel like Vivek obsesses over players. Like he sees players and he just obsesses over them. Like as we've seen with Zach LaVine. Kuminga's, it's very strange. Kuminga strikes me as the same thing. And so I'm actually happy we're in a position that it would be difficult to get him on board, because I think Vivek would try to overpay him and get him here and do all the hoopla because he sees something that other people aren't seeing. I think we know what Kuminga is, and I don't think he's a star in the making anymore.
Former Sacramento Kings undrafted two-way success story, Keon Ellis, has signed a 2-year, $18 million contract with the Brooklyn Nets. Shout out to Jordi Fernandez.
A little nice reunion there.
$9 million a year. That's kind of less money than we were expecting. Last year when he was on the Kings, we were like, oh, he's going to get the full mid-level. Look, after not being able to get off the bench in Cleveland in the playoffs when they were just getting torched by Jalen Brunson and, several coaches, whether it's Mike Brown, Doug Christie, Mr. Atkins or Atkinson or whatever the coach there in Cleveland's named, have thought he's not it. Scott Perry didn't think he was it. Like, what are we thinking here?
I mean, I think Keon Ellis is, again, who we thought he was. And I mean, the reasonable people, who the reasonable people thought he was. I think he's a decent role player. I think he's great at defense. I never thought he was like a $15 million a year guy. And I think the league is spoken. I think it's pretty straightforward. I'm happy for him, though. I'm happy that he's managed to go find a decent contract as an undrafted guy. So, good luck and Godspeed.
Just to give my 2 cents on it. Look, I think Keon's an NBA player. I think he's a rotation guy. I don't think he's maybe a very low end starter for a team, but I think the Kings mismanaged him as an asset. Absolutely. But it's also not this great loss to your franchise either. I think both of those things can be true, and I think Kings fans definitely overvalued him.
Most definitely.
Moving on to the rest of the NBA, LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers, which are our mortal enemies. I hate them.
Hate them.
I put out a statement yesterday that basically said they're moving, they're kind of having a separation after the last 7 years together or whatever it was. They won the asterisk bubble title in 2020. And LeBron, one of the all-time greats, one of the top 5 players of all time. Some would argue the best player of all time. I think he's had the kind of, I don't want to say the best career, but one of the best.
I think he's had the best career.
Well,
we can do a whole pod. We'll do a whole pod on that someday.
Someone pointed out the difference between MJ and LeBron as far as careers is literally like Kevin Durant's career. Like 2 championships, 2 finals MVPs. It was just like, okay, that's pretty good. But
interesting.
LeBron, look, he's probably going to San Francisco is what it sounds like, which it's just like totally on brand for just millennial cape shit. Like it's like the Avengers coming together to just,
it's more like the Expendables.
Yeah, the Expendables. Together. Yeah, the Expendables coming together. It's total
one last hurrah.
Shit. Yeah. It's just such millennial, like always, clinging to nostalgia and stuff. But
that's it, dude.
Look, I don't know, man. It looks like the Lakers are going all in on, they paid Austin Reeves. They did a sign and trade for Walker Kessler, which okay, that's interesting. They picked up what's his name? Skidishvili or whatever.
Yeah, Sandro. We'll call him Sandro because we don't know his last name.
They got Colin Sexton, which that's interesting. Yeah, what do you think about the Lakers? It's kind of interesting.
Well, on the LeBron front, I think it's hilarious that he waited about 5 hours after Bronny's contract was guaranteed to let him know that he was going to be taken off. I thought that was great.
Not an accident.
Not an accident at all. I don't know what the Lakers are doing, dude. Honestly, they have to have players in their team, so I get that. But as I look at their roster with the signings they just made, I'm like, is this a winning team? Is this a team that's going to go deep into the playoffs? Or is this a team that's even going to make the playoffs? I don't know. I don't see it.
Well, you had Draymond opt out, so they're going to have some money to do something. I don't know, man. Like, from what it sounds like, LeBron has said that he's willing to sign a minimum contract to join a contender. He really wants to win another championship because he knows at 4, he's not at 6.
Right.
The thing is, Tom Brady was talking about this the other day with Shaq, which is a statement I never thought I was going to say. But he was saying like, oh, yeah, he's like, I could play right now. Like, Tom Brady feels like he could go in to an NFL game. He's like, I'm in the best shape I've ever been in my life. Like, my diet's on point, my strength, my mobility, everything's on point. But the problem is, like, I just don't want to do that grind of 18 weeks plus the playoffs. Like, he's like, that's the reason I'm not still playing. And it's like, at some point, we saw with Tom Brady, who it felt like was never going to retire.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a thing for LeBron, where it's like, sure, LeBron, yeah, like, he's still a freak athlete. He's still, had a lot of the physical tools to play in the league. He hasn't aged poorly like some of players in the past, like Kevin Garnett or whoever, right? But man, that grind is real. And yeah, maybe he could do one more last hurrah somewhere, but I don't think he's got more than 1 year left. Like, at some point, it is what it is. And if he's going to a team, like, he got the Lakers in the second round this past season, which is like
Yeah.
still pretty impressive with no Luka. But I don't know, man. Like, I don't think he really moves a needle in San Francisco, and I don't think he's going to move the needle to most teams. So
I mean, I
that's
think
my two cents.
LeBron is always going to move the needle. Well, I shouldn't say always, but I think based on what he did last year, he's still got the ability to play and make a significant impact. So I think he's going to move the needle, but I don't think that him going to San Francisco is going to get them a championship at all. I think that their window has officially closed. I think Cleveland could be interesting, especially considering it's in the East. People aren't talking about it. And again, I have no idea of the cap or how any of this would work, but could you see him going to Miami and reuniting with Pat and seeing if him and Giannis can do something special?
No. I think he didn't. I don't think he left on the best terms with Pat Riley, which it's kind of on brand for Pat Riley.
I was going to say that's how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, what does he add to that team? Like, they need shooting. Davion Mitchell, like, we miss him, but is he really the guard? Is he really the perimeter player?
We don't miss him that bad, if we're being honest.
Well, he was probably never going to be what he is now here in Sacramento, but
he's a good player.
I'd rather have him than Devin Carter. I'll tell you that.
Facts. That's facts. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to go make a huge impact, but I think he's LeBron James, man. He knows how to win.
What do you think about Giannis?
Boy, I think he has traded Milwaukee for South Beach with similar talent. That's what I think about the situation over there. I don't know what the move is there. They just lost Powell to, I forget who he signed with. Maybe Chicago. So I don't know what the move is there and what the strategy is there in terms of playing winning basketball. I mean, obviously I'd rather be in Miami than Milwaukee just in general. But they have no shooting at all. So I don't know what the move is.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think I would begrudge anyone wanting to live in Miami, but at some point, you got to play basketball. It's not just about living in Miami. And right now, they don't really have a championship roster. Go ahead, throw LeBron in there.
I would say not even close to a championship roster.
Yeah. So.
Davion Mitchell is the point guard. They signed Tim Hardaway to a 1-year deal. Andrew Wiggins, again, we've seen him play a lot of basketball. Like, it's basically Giannis and Bam Adebayo, which is a strong front court. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know what the backcourt's doing.
Yeah.
In this league, where you maximize the 3-point opportunities, it's not winning basketball.
Well, I want to leave the audience with one last thing. It's not in our notes, but I just want to throw it out there because it's pretty close to the mentality that I've been talking about as far as how the Kings should handle the Zach LaVine situation. Because this is the next thing, right? Like, Zach LaVine opted in his contract. Everyone was expecting that. Okay. We know that Rich Paul's his agent. We know that Rich Paul backdoored the Kings with the De'Aaron Fox situation. Funny enough, kind of screwed his other client, Zach LaVine, by bringing him here. And now Zach LaVine's trying to pull the De'Aaron Fox move to the Kings again and trying to, get paid out 100% and be able to go somewhere else or whatever. Here's what I think the Kings should do.
Take less money. No. Okay. Sorry about it. And you tank his value. Like that's the other.
And then good luck getting Rich with getting a Rich Paul client to ever
signing
play for
free agents. Oh no, the Kings' big free agent signing ability is gone.
Well, I mean, like if you do
happen
to have
the money is there, the agent will send their client there. That's my view on it.
Yeah, I'm just not. If I'm the Kings, I'm not interested. I shouldn't be interested in burning bridges with one of the most powerful agents in the league.
Okay, we're going to stop right there briefly. I'm going to play the rest of it, but Kyle gets it. I just want to say Kyle gets it. Biederman from the Sacramento Bee does not get it. He thinks that you should placate Rich Paul.
Yeah, I don't think
because you already have the De'Aaron Fox situation.
Yeah, but they gave De'Aaron Fox what he wanted, though.
They
do anything wrong to Rich Paul in the De'Aaron Fox thing?
I'm just saying, if you happen to have, if you happen, like, free agency doesn't really exist, right? But the new version of free agency is trading for a player and then getting him to sign that extension.
Mm-hmm.
If you alienate Rich Paul and any of his players are never going to sign an extension for you, then that hampers your ability to really do much in terms of getting meaningful upgrades to your roster if you can in a trade at some point. That's kind of the point I'm making. Is like, what you have as a team is the ability to extend somebody who you trade for. If there's this perfect complement to Darius Acuff that you want to trade for, but he's represented by Rich Paul, and Rich Paul's like, I remember what you did to Zach LaVine. I'm not really interested in extending with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think that's problematic in the long haul.
I'm not worried about it.
I feel like, I'm not kidding, I feel like this is like you and me having a conversation, because I actually agree with Biederman. I'm like, you can't burn all these bridges, dude. Like
no, man,
also,
you can't burn these bridges, but you can't.
What's the point of tanking the value? What would be the goal? Just to screw him over?
There's no goal. It's
there you go.
There's no. I'm not saying they should do that with Zach LaVine. To be clear, I'm just like, what I'm saying is I wouldn't be above telling Zach LaVine. This is prior to the opt-out situation. Look, man, you might as well, because we might not play you at all, and that'll tank your value. Like, play hardball in that way with him. Try to find a sign and trade partner. We'll accommodate a sign and trade. We'll find you a new home. But if you don't and you opt into your contract, you're still not guaranteed to play for us this season. And then good luck with your next contract. Like, I think that you should be willing to play hardball in that way and not be worried about alienating Rich Paul, because here's the reality. Rich Paul's an agent, not a player. And so what happens with one player is not relevant for the next player. If you are the best situation for his next client, he has a fiduciary responsibility to explore that. And if he is not exploring opportunities with the Kings that are costing his clients millions of dollars, that's actually going to hurt him more than it hurts you. So I think that the way that I would look at this with Rich Paul is kind of like the way I would look at it as like a young guy trying to date, right? Like, I don't think you really gain anything by like just being super nice and like trying to kiss ass. Like,
sure.
No, you get your shit together. That's how you actually like succeed in dating. And sometimes you got to be a dickhead about it.
Yep, that's fair. I will say this. I think that whole premise goes against your you win by winning mentality. Because yes or no, you win more games with Zach LaVine as your starting shooting guard, as opposed to whoever you would have, Malik Monk or Sharp or whoever is going to be your guy.
Yeah. I would say you probably win more with Zach playing.
So you have a responsibility to win as many games as possible.
Well, you have a responsibility to try to win. You have a responsibility to try to make your team better and to try to win instead of trying to tank, is what I would say. I think that if you're looking at a situation where you're going to get 2 more wins by playing Zach LaVine, but you can dangle this threat over his head to try to get him to opt out, I think you dangle that threat and you don't worry about alienating Rich Paul. Now that he's opted in.
That's what I mean. Now that he's opted in, you got to play him.
Like,
also, by the way, dude, I'm not saying I think Zach LaVine's going to be sick, but he's in a contract year. Like, guys who are in contract years tend to play pretty good ball.
With Zach, he doesn't fit with Acuff. And I think that you kind of are worried about him becoming a locker room problem. And so I think that that's where we get into the sending him home thing. I don't think I'm sending him home if he's like fully bought in and he's like, this is where I'm going to be for one more season. And I'm not happy. I'd rather not be here. But while I'm here, I'm going to be a pro. That's one way. If he's calling Rich Paul and creating problems for you, that's a different story. And
have you heard? I've never heard anything bad about Zach LaVine said in terms of like not being a pro. I've actually heard the opposite. So do you
remember his exit press conference from the end of the season?
I don't recall it, to be honest with you.
It wasn't great. I'll just say that. But anyway, look, he did, and again, I'm not going to sit here and defend Doug Christie, but he contradicted the head coach like at the start of the season last year, where he's like, I don't think we have the personnel to run the, which he's right. We don't.
Right.
You know, I really don't want to, I don't want to like kill him for that. But
right.
I mean, look, man, like when you're trying to build a culture, like you want to give minutes to the guys you're invested in, and there's no future with the Kings and Zach LaVine. So it's not a you win by winning thing when the guy's on his way out anyways, right? It was like with De'Aaron Fox, you know, they could have shut him down and had him go get hand surgery or whatever and try to find a better trade, you know, down the road with the Spurs or whatever. But like what they did was they accommodated him. And I'm just saying, in this situation, you don't need to accommodate Zach LaVine. You don't need to prioritize Zach LaVine. You should do what's in the best interest of your franchise long term, and to some extent short term, but definitely long term, and not really be worried about alienating Rich Paul. Like at the end of the day, he's an agent. Agents have a fiduciary responsibility. I'm not naive. I know there's a lot of politics involved. And there's a lot of personality management involved here. I get all that. But like, you've already placated him so many times and he still doesn't respect you. So at some point you got to extract a cost for crossing you. And I think that, you know, you shouldn't be afraid to do that.
Yeah. I don't disagree with the premise. Now that he's opted in, you got to play him.
All right. Any predictions for the World Cup?
None whatsoever.
We got the U.S. playing tonight.
We're playing Bosnia, right?
Bosnia and Herzegovina. I don't know how they're going to fit all those players on the field, but it's, you know.
That's unbelievable.
2-on-1.
I've heard, again, I know nothing about soccer, but I've heard that we are supposed to win this game tonight. And then I've heard we're supposed to win the next game also.
Yeah. I'm just going to put it out there from now so I can gloat if it does happen. I've got Spain winning it all.
Okay.
Let's leave it there. Go Kings.
There you go. Well, hey, we got the California Classic on July 4th, Toke. We need to make sure we have our talent scout watch those games. We need a report from the talent scout for the next pod.
I think we have a better shot maybe in October of getting
watch those highlights.
All right, man. Take it easy. We'll to our audience, go Kings.
Go Kings.